All right, I'd like to call the meeting, the May 11th, 2022 meeting of the University Heights City Beautiful Community Improvement Corporation to order. We'll start with the roll. Michael Brennan is here. Michelle Weiss.
Here.
Justin Gould.
Here.
Sherry Sachs. Well, it appears Sherry Sachs is here. She is on the call. Susan Drucker.
Here.
Jeff Engelbrecht.
Here.
And Winifred Weiser.
Here.
Okay. All right, so all are present. Also present is Luke McConville. Our treasurer, Dennis Kennedy, could not be here today. And Ben Schaefer is also here, as well as looks like Mr. Cook is here and a resident as well. Okay, so the next item on the agenda is approval of minutes. We have two sets, set from November 16, 2021, April 22nd, 2022. I know the meeting from April.
Can't hear.
You cannot hear?
Somebody say something. I can't hear.
Yes, if you're unable to hear, you might need to phone in.
I will message her the dial-in number.
Okay, very good.
Okay, I'm good.
Oh, okay, very good. Thank you. All right, so let's first the minutes from November 16, 2021. I know Mrs. Weiss, you wanted, you identified a revision that was necessary. Has that been met to your satisfaction if you've had an opportunity to review?
Thank you.
Okay. Is there then a motion to approve the November 16, 2021 minutes?
So move.
Okay, motion by Ms. Weiser. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mrs. Weiss. All those in favor of the November 16, 2021 minutes, if their approval, please say aye.
Aye.
I abstain. I wasn't here.
Okay, very good. Are there any nays? And we note one abstention by Mrs. Sachs. Any other abstentions? Okay, the minutes pass. Then we have a set of minutes from April 25, 2022. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Okay, motion approved by Mrs. Weiss. Is there a second? Well, I'll go ahead and second. Okay, well, we'll take the second from Mrs. Drucker. Okay. Any discussion? If none, all those in favor of approving those minutes, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? The minutes pass. Next is item 3, a motion to authorize filing of IRS Form 990EZ.
I'll abstain from that, Mayor. Sorry, I was coming off of mute.
Oh, you're abstaining from the minutes?
Yeah, I wasn't at that one. That was the one with proxy.
All right, very good. We'll note the abstention by Mr. Gould on the motion regarding the April 25, 2022 minutes. Okay, so the next agenda item is a motion to authorize filing of IRS Form 990EZ. This was tabled from the previous meeting. Is there now a motion to authorize the filing of IRS Form 990EZ?
So moved.
Okay, motion by Mrs. Weiss. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Weiser. Any discussion? If there is none, all those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
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 Are there any opposed? Are there any abstentions? Seeing none, then the ayes have it. We then move to item 4, discussion of CIC issuance waste survey. Who would like to begin?
I'll be happy to begin there. So attached that I sent out yesterday were contract from Baldwin Wallace, between us and Baldwin Wallace. Luke put this together for us. This has attached to it Exhibit A, which is basically a memorialization of the service quote that Tom Sutton had already sent over to the city previously to get a survey out. And then attached to it, I have a couple quotes. One is from Viscom formerly Porath. This is an update of a quote that Mike Cook had got from Porath, and then one from Zippity Print, another local shop. The Porath or Viscom quote gives various options available to us. So for instance, a one-sided survey, a two-sided survey, that was option 1 and 2. We already know that it's a two-sided survey, so that's the second option of $585. Then there was an option to either have black ink or another color of ink on our number 10 envelope. That'll be the outside envelope. Again, I chose the less expensive option. Just black is what I would suggest. $364 on that item. And then the internal envelope is next. And the addressing envelope, all the envelope work, including the lifting, inserting, and folding, at $430 item. Finally, there's a list on the second page of the various options for postage. The internal envelopes will need to have 58-cent stamps on them. That is $2,610. For pre-sort standard, for the outside envelopes, it would be about 32 cents is the estimate. So those are the two numbers there, $1,440 for the outside envelope. When we were previously looking at this, the city has worked with this company before. It was a relationship that, Mike Cook had, and I know Mayor Porath had worked with. So that's who we were suggesting. I believe they were the selected option by council when they were considering this. And based on the two quotes we received, when I was speaking to Viscom as an example, previously they were telling us, hey, listen, the post office is messed up. It is taking a long time to get, any pre-sorted standard mail out. You need to pay more for first class. And as an example of them staying on top of things and, having a relationship with the city, they said, hey, listen, you don't need to do first class pre-sort this time. I'm seeing, pre-sort of a standard go out and getting within a week, 2 or 3 days, which is just as fast as first class would be. So they were able to lower some of the postage costs on that. Based on the pre-existing relationship and the communication we've had from both companies, I'd suggest the Viscom quote. With the survey total, I believe that we'll be able to do this with under $10,000. With under $10,000. So I would ask for up to $10,000 to be the motion.
Yeah, I actually reviewed the financials from the CIC, and we have over $60,000 in the organization right now. So I would make a motion.
Okay.
If you're going to accept a motion, I hope there's more discussion, because I'd like to say something after there's a second.
Okay.
I'll second the motion.
Sure. Could we have with some precision what the motion is?
The motion, you could formalize it, Justin.
Sure, of course. I'll make the motion, or I'll formulate the motion that I put in the email to Ben. That's a motion to authorize member Justin Gould to enter into a contract with the Community Research Institute at Baldwin-Wallace University related to a survey, to accept a quote from Viscom Printing for printing and mailing of the same, and to authorize and instruct the treasurer to issue payment for these items up to a sum total of $10,000.
Second.
Is that your motion, Vice? Mrs. Weiss?
Yes, so moved.
Okay, yeah, the original motion then was by Mrs. Weiss. The original second, I believe, was by Mrs. Sachs. Okay, Mrs. Drucker, you wanted to speak.
Yes, so I just want to remind, I'm going to take everyone back to July 2021 when we had a strategic planning committee meeting, when that was the meeting you presented on outcome-based budgeting, if you recall. There were some people that weren't there, so during
I want to hear the tape.
Garbage pickup was briefly discussed at that strategic planning committee meeting, and there I shared my opinion that I still hold today, and that I want to share with this committee. And This is Susan Drucker's opinion. And just so you know, just to remind everyone, Brian King was a candidate at the time. He was at the meeting. Justin Gould was there, Michelle Weiss, Barbara Blankfeld, and Wynn, you were there. I don't think anyone else from council was there, or from the CIC. And Mayor, I think you
Mayor was there.
as well. So, but I am not a fan of surveys. And I don't support surveys, period, because I don't think you get a fair return. It's not an accurate depiction of what people think. And I keep hearing all the talk about people wanting to say, I want to know what the residents feel. And July 2021, I said it then, I'm going to say it again. If you truly want to know what residents feel, you put it on the ballot. And that way, especially this year, you have a Senate race, you have a governor's race, you have Congress people running. You are going to have probably one of the stronger turnouts that will exceed any survey return. Additionally, with 2 surveys going out, I think it's going to add to confusion. The whole thing just has to be put aside with surveys. And I think the mayor and council move forward, you put this issue on the ballot. And if you truly want to see what residents feel, they will come out and vote on an issue if they feel that strongly about something like this garbage pickup. So for those reasons, I'm not supporting this motion, and nor do I support any survey, no matter who's putting it out, when they're putting it out, who supports what. I don't support either of them. And that's my opinion. So thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else who'd like to raise something? I see Mrs. Sachs's hand.
I think that's, I hadn't thought of that. And unfortunately I wasn't aware of that discussion. I'd like to hear the negative to that. If somebody wants to let me know let this committee know what the downside would be to putting it on the ballot. Thank you.
I'd be happy to talk about that. So some individuals on council have stated that, the reason they want to have the survey out is to hear what the opinions of people are. Do they want to change? Do they not want to change? One of the overriding discussions in the Service and Utilities Committee was not mainly about opinion. Do I like it? Do I not like it? It was about gathering relevant data points. How many elders are there in our community that will require assistance with their carts? What effects, therefore, would that data have, and how would that influence the budgeting? How much more service are we going to require if we were to go to a curbside pickup and still go into people's backyards? How many people are new to this city? We know that we have an influx of people. People are moving to University Heights. Our housing market is strong. People like living here. People like moving here, and they are influenced by various decisions. Is there a difference between people who have lived in the city for a long period of time versus those who are just moving into the city in terms of their desires to have a change in backyard pickup or not? And then also, in addition to our elders, those that may have disabilities, what are the percentages of individuals that feel that they have physical needs that would require them to have additional assistance? So there are several data points. This survey was designed to be more than about opinion. It was designed to gather several critical data points that could be used either individually or in conjunction with each other to give members of council a better view of this decision and to be able to make an informed decision on it. So that's one of the things that you can't really achieve from an item on a ballot. You wouldn't suggest putting a 22, 23 page, 22, 23 question ballot measure on. But I understand Ms. Drucker's position. I respect if this is only about opinion, go ahead and put it on the ballot. I just feel like it's more than that, in my opinion, and that's why I support the survey.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Gould. Does anybody else want to speak up? Mrs. Sachs.
Oh, thank you so much, both Ms. Drucker and Mr. Gould. So no matter what, survey, ballot, we're still going to have to collect data. The administration is going to have to collect data. And I feel that a ballot may be more public, more accessible. I know with this administrative survey, there's a question about doing it all online or doing it by mail or both. And if it's all online, are you really going to capture everybody? If it's all by mail, people, whatever, they might think it's junk. It's more public and perhaps it's more compelling for the administration to follow through with the data that we should already have. No matter what, we're going to need to know who meets the ADA requirements or whatever, and the administration has not collected that. So perhaps it being on a ballot would make it more public, more accessible, less controversial, and more compelling to get the information. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Sachs. Does anybody else have anything?
Hi, it's Rebecca Slifer.
You're not a member of the board. We're not.
Yeah, I know, but I'm also I'm a pretty big taxpayer. So
I would like to speak.
You're not a member of the board. You're free to observe, but you're not here to participate.
I know, Mr. Brennan, but I also think you need to hear from the.
And will you please mute Mrs. Slifer?
Please don't do that. I don't think that's very polite.
Well, it's rude to interrupt a public meeting. You're not a participant in this meeting. You're free to observe, but that is the extent here. It's a public meeting for observation, not one for participation.
Okay, well, here's something to consider because I have a good background.
Again, Ben, please mute Ms. Slifer. You've got the administrative controls here. Please go ahead and mute her. Thank you very much. If she has another outburst, please remove her from the meeting. Thank you. Ms. Weiser, did you have something?
I do.
Go ahead.
I respect your opinion, Ms. Drucker. I don't agree with it. I think valid surveys are good things. Data analysis gives us a solid grounding. I think this particular survey, if you look at what the community, what Tom Sutton's group does for other communities, including the solid waste district, you'll discover that they do a wide range of things. They do it in an unbiased fashion. And I think because this whole question has become so politicized, because people want one thing and they don't want another, that it probably is good to let the residents speak. A survey at this point, because people know that there's hopefully going to be a survey and they want to respond, will probably get above the normal response rate. And I believe the last time we did a survey, which I think was under Mayor Infeld, we actually got a rather substantial response from our residents. I think the residents of the city are thoughtful. I think the questions that are contained in the survey will engender data that will allow the council and hopefully the administration to make good decisions. I don't know how it's going to come out. I honestly don't know. Even if, the bulk of the people say, yeah, we need to switch how we pick up garbage, getting accurate data that is going to let us really know what the cost is probably going to be the most helpful. And quite frankly, I've heard all sorts of numbers tossed around. I've heard, oh no, here we're gonna save 500,000. Well, that's only if we lay off 4 people. And of course, we're not going to lay off 4 people. So that savings then is reduced, even if you move those people over to other duties, because you're still gonna have to pay for the pickup. So you're actually adding a bit to the cost or reducing the savings a significant amount. I think those are questions that budgetary wise, especially going forward, because the cost per person per year continues to grow and our workforce continues to grow and our revenues do not grow at the same rate, that's problematic, especially with other things the administration wants to do, spending money on like the new facilities. All of those things are going to take cash, and that cash isn't going to be there even if people go, oh, we'll just make it happen. Even with all of the new units coming in, that might only increase how much money we have by what? Maybe about 400, 500,000 a year. And in a few years, that is just eaten up by salary and benefits without a problem. So getting some hardcore things that allow the city to really look at the costs and what they have to do is probably the best way to go. I think the idea about dueling surveys and surveys that are, it's actually at the council administration level, it's become so politicized that it's out of bounds. Just getting some answers and beginning to really look at things probably is going to be the best way to go.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, go ahead, Mrs. Weiss.
Yeah, thank you. You know, I agree that this city is a responsible and involved city. The master plan was the last survey under Mayor Infeld, and that got an outstanding response for a survey. I've been involved with other strategic plans over the years that has sent out surveys. And if you have involved and passionate people in your organization, which we have in our city, you do get a good response. Besides the response rate, which I think will be high, we have data that does need to be collected. And I think that this is the most appropriate way to do it.
Okay, thank you.
I have one other comment to make.
Go ahead, Ms. Weiser.
I think people need to be very careful about, you can tell my trash is being picked up, our city services at work. Okay. I think we need to be very careful. Some of the comments that have been made about Dr. Sutton and his organization have on an academic level been below the belt. One of the things that I think the city administration needs to consider is that a lot of universities in this area contribute to data collection and data analysis and do studies for cities throughout the entire Cuyahoga County region. When you begin to make statements that may not have a basis in fact, in order to posture, what happens is you begin to lose credibility with everyone who does good research. And that's the kind of a mark I don't think University Heights needs. So I think comments regarding surveys need to be based in and couched very carefully going forward. That's just my opinion.
Does anybody else on the board have anything? Looks like Mrs. Sachs. Go ahead.
Thank you again. Thank you everybody for your comments. It helps me see a balanced discussion here. I've worked at several top organizations here in Cleveland, which has a survey, client satisfaction surveys and other types of surveys as a routine part of our quality improvement, quality assurance programs, which have been extraordinarily helpful. They've been statistically valid, reliable, and enough that have really helped shape our organization's goals. So, Mrs. Drucker, I'm sorry your experience has been less than that. But I do understand your point to put something like this on the ballot. I will say one more time, no matter what, the administration really should get started now about identifying who in our city will still need that service no matter what. And there's some other things too regarding, you know, if we're talking, it doesn't seem like we're talking about recycling even anymore. It's just curbside, automated curbside collection. But if we are doing that, it would be important to know how many people in our community are voluntarily participating in that process, so that it will make a difference with regard to who's really answering the survey and what we're asking. So I cannot say it in the strongest terms, how critical it is to get this data, that it's valuable data, and that perhaps the way to start getting that is through the survey process. Okay, thank you, everybody, for your comments. I don't know if there's still more, but thank you so far.
Yeah, I have something. Under the city charter, only the mayor may sign contracts. And the CIC was created by the city to promote economic and community development, not to create a shadow administration to circumvent the mayor's office. If Mr. Gould signs these contracts, binding the CIC, which is an agent of the city, it will be my position that he has violated the charter. And I will be exploring and considering all legal remedies accordingly. I urge that you do not continue with this proposed course of action. Thank you.
I'll pause for a legal opinion. Mr. McConville, you are on the line. Do you see any violation of the charter of the City of University Heights through this action?
I do not. This is a separate corporation. The board of directors of the corporation has the right under Chapter 1702 of the revised code and under its regulations to authorize its directors or members to take particular actions. So as long as the board is providing authorization through a roll call vote in a meeting, I don't see an issue. This is not city action. This is CIC action. CIC is a separate legal entity.
And regarding the issues of the charter and the laws of the City of University Heights specifically, this body, was it formed through an action of the city's council, specifically an ordinance creating the CIC?
That's correct.
And did the mayor
there's a combination of things that occur. One is an ordinance, and then the corporation itself is chartered by the Ohio Secretary of State pursuant to the filing of articles of incorporation.
But in terms of the authorization to initially create the CIC, was that done by an ordinance from the city council?
Yes.
And with the mayor's authority granted to him under the charter, did he sign off on that ordinance creating the CIC in its structure?
You know, I would have to look at the record, but I believe he did. I mean, I know he didn't veto it. I'm pretty sure he signed it.
I'm pretty sure I signed it too. And I would add that I don't believe that any ordinance, whether signed by the mayor or not, can delegate authority greater than what's already given under the charter. If the charter says that only the mayor can enter a contract, I don't believe that by ordinance signed by the mayor that can grant to a third party power greater than that.
For the reasons stated by the law director, I'm comfortable proceeding and would call the question.
Okay, Mrs. Sachs.
Mayor Brennan, I hope that you'll stop this divisive, continual, unilateral, divisive narrative and work together. Thank you.
Well, I wish we'd work together too. That's why I went to the county, brought them this survey.
Right,
They looked at it.
circumventing council.
Hold on a second. Now I'm talking. Thank you. And rather than just saying no to your survey and having there be no survey, I looked for an alternative. And I went to Elizabeth Biggins Raymer. She looked at the survey. If she had said, no, this survey looks great, you should issue it, then that would have been good advice, and I would have considered that. But that wasn't her advice. Instead, she said, well, here, I think we could do something better for your city. You won't have to pay for it. And we have this other, professionally written survey underway that is not going to cost our taxpayers upwards of $10,000. Mrs. Sachs.
It's our survey, the first one, okay? It's not your survey, council. That's the first thing. The second thing is I'm going to dig and see who's really paying for this. It's supposedly a grant. Where's that grant money coming from? Is it taxpayer dollars? We'll find out, because maybe indirectly or not directly, I don't know. It is being paid for.
Well, it's not
somebody's paying for it. Excuse me, Mayor Brennan, you have the floor. And speaking of circumventing, I believe that's exactly what you're doing with the second survey, is circumventing and avoiding the responsibility of collecting the necessary data. And by saying that, suggesting that Elizabeth Biggins Raymer and the RRS, whatever, organizations are more legitimate than Baldwin Wallace College, an unaffiliated, unbiased third party. Even the language, which I'll point out in the council meeting, maybe even the committee meeting tonight, that in the memo sent by Elizabeth Biggins Raymer has biased wording in it, just the memo. So please stop your narrative that is so divisive and troublesome to our community. Thank you.
Are you finished? Would anybody else like to address this point? I know, Mr. Gould, you called the question, but I want to make sure everybody's heard.
Certainly.
All right, very good. We'll take a roll call vote. I'll go first. Michael Brennan, no. Mrs. Weiss?
Aye.
Mr. Gould?
Aye.
Mrs. Sachs?
Aye.
Mrs. Drucker?
No.
Mr. Engelbrecht?
Nay. No.
Ms. Weiser?
Aye.
Okay, motion carries 4-3. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, motion adjourned by Mr. Gould, second by Mrs. Drucker. All those in favor of adjournment say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? The ayes have it and we are adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.